If everything offends you, nothing will ever teach you. Stop being so damn offended. Build a spine and turn offense into fuel. You don't need a safe space. You need a spine and a strategy. Real talk. If you're going to do anything that matters, you're going to offend someone, and you'll be offended too. That's not a glitch in the system. That's the cost of thinking freely and living authentically. Do you find yourself constantly triggered by other people's opinions? Do you spend more energy being upset about what people say than actually building something meaningful? Do you think being offended gives you moral authority or makes you right? Here's what no one tells you. Offense is information, not an instruction. It's feedback about your inner landscape, not a call to shut down the conversation. Today, we're breaking down how to transform your offense into fuel for growth instead of fuel for outrage. We're covering 5 reality checks. First, why the offense epidemic is actually weakening you. Second, the crucial difference between being challenged and being harmed. Third, how to turn offense into constructive fuel. Fourth, how to speak powerfully without apologizing for existing. And fifth, why life is a gym, not a therapy room. 1. The offense epidemic and why it's weakening you. Here's something that might sting. Getting offended at everything puts you in a permanent defensive crouch. That's not power, that's paralysis. You weren't made to flinch at every uncomfortable idea. You were made to face them, process them, and grow from them. When you're constantly offended, you're constantly reactive. You're giving away your power to every person, post, or perspective that doesn't align with your worldview. You've essentially made your emotional state dependent on everyone else behaving exactly how you think they should behave. That's not strength, that's emotional outsourcing. Jordan Peterson said it perfectly. In order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. But the reverse is also true. In order to think, you have to risk being offended. When you protect yourself from all discomfort, you protect yourself from all growth. Being offended has become a hobby for some people, a way to feel important and morally superior without actually doing the hard work of building something meaningful. It's easier to be outraged about what someone else said than to examine why their words hit so hard or to channel that energy into constructive action. The offense epidemic creates a culture where everyone is walking on eggshells, afraid to share authentic thoughts or ask genuine questions because someone might get upset. This doesn't create safety. It creates stagnation. It doesn't build understanding. It builds resentment. When you're always scanning for things to be offended by, you miss opportunities to learn on, grow, and connect. You become so focused on protecting your current beliefs that you can't expand them. You become so invested in being right that you can't become better. 2. Being offended does not equal being oppressed or being right. Time for some uncomfortable truth. There's a massive difference between actual harm and being intellectually or emotionally challenged. You have to know the difference or you'll waste your energy fighting shadows while missing real opportunities for growth and connection. Being offended doesn't automatically make you right. It doesn't give you moral authority. It doesn't mean the other person is wrong. It simply means something they said challenged your current belief system, triggered an insecurity, or conflicted with your identity. That's information worth examining, not evidence of wrongdoing. Every offense is a fork in the road. You can choose the pity party, or you can choose personal power. You can choose to be a victim of someone else's words, or you can choose to be curious about why those words affected you so strongly. Real oppression involves systemic barriers, actual harm, and genuine threats to safety or well-being. Feeling uncomfortable because someone disagrees with you is not oppression. It's Tuesday. Hearing perspectives that challenge your worldview is not violence. It's education, even if you ultimately disagree. When you conflate discomfort with danger, you rob yourself of resilience. You train your nervous system to interpret intellectual challenges as physical threats. You become fragile instead of strong, reactive instead of responsive. The goal isn't to become callous or dismissive of genuine harm. The goal is to develop the discernment to distinguish between what deserves your outrage and what deserves your curiosity. Not every uncomfortable feeling is a five-alarm fire. Sometimes it's just the growing pains of expanding your perspective. 3. What to do instead? Turn offense into fuel. Here's your new protocol when something offends you. Ask yourself, why did this hit me so hard? What belief is being challenged? What wound is being poked? Then write it down, sit with it. Channel that reaction into something constructive. Get curious, not defensive. Curiosity builds. Offense burns. When you get curious about your offense, you discover things about yourself that you couldn't see before. You might realize you're defending an outdated belief. You might discover an insecurity you didn't know you had. You might find an area where you need to do some inner work. That energy you feel when you're offended, that fire, that intensity, that's fuel. You can burn it up in pointless arguments and social media rants, or you can channel it into personal growth, meaningful conversations, creative projects, or constructive action. Use offense as a diagnostic tool. What specifically triggered you? Was it the content of what they said or the way they said it? Was it about the topic or about feeling disrespected? Was it about the idea itself or about what accepting that idea would mean for your identity? Sometimes offense reveals areas where you need stronger boundaries. Sometimes it reveals beliefs you've outgrown but haven't released. Sometimes it reveals wounds that need healing. Sometimes it reveals blind spots that need examination. The most powerful response to offense is often the least obvious one: gratitude. Thank the person or situation for showing you something about yourself that you couldn't see before. Thank them for giving you an opportunity to practice resilience, curiosity, and emotional regulation. 4. How to speak powerfully without apologizing for existing. Here's something crucial. Stop watering yourself down just to avoid triggering others. You can't control other people's reactions, and trying to do so will turn you into a bland, inauthentic version of yourself that serves no one. Speak clearly, speak kindly, speak with spine. Silence helps no one evolve, but neither does speaking carelessly. Choose your words like a professional, with intention, not ego. There's a difference between being provocative and being reckless, between being honest and being cruel. You can be compassionate without being complicit. You can be respectful without being silent. You can be considerate without being censored. The goal is to communicate in ways that create connection and understanding, not defensiveness and division. When you apologize for existing, when you preface every opinion with disclaimers and qualifications, when you shrink yourself to make others comfortable, you rob the world of your authentic perspective. Your voice matters, your experience has value, and your thoughts deserve to be heard. This doesn't mean being intentionally offensive or dismissive of others' feelings. It means being willing to share your truth even when you know it might make some people uncomfortable. It means prioritizing authenticity over approval. The people who need to hear what you have to say won't be offended by your honesty. They'll be grateful for it. The people who are offended by your authentic self probably aren't your people anyway, and that's okay. 5. Life is not a therapy room, it's a gym. Here's the fundamental refrain: you don't get stronger by avoiding pressure. You grow by lifting heavier ideas, by staying in the room during difficult conversations, by learning how to hold your ground without losing your soul. Life isn't designed to be comfortable. It's designed to make you grow. Every challenging interaction, every difficult conversation, every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to build emotional muscle. When you run from these opportunities, you stay weak. The therapy room is for processing trauma and healing wounds, but life is the gym where you build strength, resilience, and character. You can't live your entire life in therapy mode, treating every challenge as a crisis and every discomfort as damage. In the gym, resistance is what makes you stronger. In life, intellectual and emotional resistance serves the same function. People who disagree with you aren't your enemies. They're your sparring partners. Ideas that challenge you aren't attacks. They're opportunities to test and strengthen your beliefs. This doesn't mean seeking out conflict or being combative. It means being willing to engage with difficulty instead of avoiding it. It means developing the capacity to hold tension without immediately trying to resolve it or run from it. The strongest people aren't those who never get offended. They're those who can be offended and still remain curious, compassionate, and constructive. They can feel the discomfort without letting it drive their decisions or derail their goals. All right, time for some tough love. If you're always offended, you're always distracted. And if you're always distracted, you'll never build anything that lasts. Being offended is easy. It requires no skill, no growth, no courage. Doing the inner work to understand why you're offended, that's hard. But guess which one actually changes your life? You think your offense makes you righteous, but it just makes you reactive. You think it makes you powerful, but it makes you predictable. You think it protects you, but it just keeps you small. If you have time to complain about what someone said, you have time to do something about whatever they triggered in you. If you have energy to be outraged, you have energy to be constructive. If you can write angry comments, you can write thoughtful responses. Your offense is not sacred. Your comfort is not guaranteed. Your feelings are not facts. And your reaction is not anyone else's responsibility to manage. Stop using your sensitivity as an excuse for your inaction. Stop using your triggers as reasons to avoid growth. Stop demanding that the world accommodate your emotional fragility instead of building your emotional strength. The world doesn't owe you comfort. It owes you opportunities to become stronger, wiser, and more capable. Take them. This week, take one thing that triggered you, a post, a conversation, a person, and instead of reacting, reflect. Write down 3 lessons from it. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me about my ego, my identity, or my wounds? What belief is being challenged? What fear is being activated? What growth opportunity is being presented? Then take one small action to rise above it. Not stew in it. Have a conversation, set a boundary, examine a belief, or channel that energy into something constructive. Offense isn't the enemy. Staying stuck in it is. If this video reminded you that you're not porcelain, you're powerful, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're building a community of people who choose growth over comfort and curiosity over outrage. Share this with someone who needs to remember that being offended isn't a superpower, but learning from offense definitely is. Remember, you're not broken, you're untrained, and the skills of emotional resilience and intellectual courage can be developed starting with your next trigger. Until next time, stop breaking down and start breaking through.